in Dundrum, County Tipperary, where a protest has been ongoing against the establishment of an IPAS centre at Dundrum Town Hotel here behind us. Now, you've been here at the protest for quite a long time. What's your motivation for protesting at this site here?
Yeah, I suppose from the beginning it has been a protest against the current government's immigration policy. For me, from the beginning it has, and from everybody here now at this stage, it's a protest about the way they're carrying out this immigration policy.
And is it in terms of the numbers that they're bringing in and how they're doing it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've stated in the past that there is a proper way to deal with immigration in any country, and it's welcomed in most countries. Every country welcomes immigration. It adds to the fabric of society mostly, but in this manner, it's just obscene. The way they've been into kind of like open borders, allowing it to happen and facilitating it, and also the profiteering as well as another aspect that we've tried to highlight here, you know.
And I think one of the reasons that this particular site is, unique, if I can use that word, is that, if it's filled up as the government, intends to fill it, at least from stage one, there's going to be more asylum seekers here than there will be locals. So can you tell us a little bit about Dundrum as, it's referred to as a town, but really it's not a town, is it? Well, I've come through here this morning. It's literally just essentially a road with a few shops, a post office and some houses.
Yeah, the parish is Dundrum, Knockavilla, Donaskey, so it's like three villages. But we're in Dundrum right now, and I suppose the population is 221 in the last census, and now there's facility for 277. Now there has always been a facility for 277 Ukrainians, beneficiaries of temporary protection, which we've opened our arms to, and it's worked very well on a temporary basis, but it can't continue. It's just like it's just not. We don't have the resources to like the doctor. There's no Garda presence here. If you have people who are coming into the area and they're undocumented, there's no way to kind of. We're not trying to veto the people who come in, but there is no background checks done on anyone coming in here. So it has been a concern. But look, we have international protection applicants on site at the moment. It's women and children, and we will do our best to facilitate them and welcome them in a way, but at the same time, we know that the numbers will increase and it's not sustainable.
Can you tell us about the Garda response here last Tuesday?
They came. A few of them arrived on early on Tuesday morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning. They were kind of just circling around in and out and all that. They were parked across the road here, and another couple of them parked over here. And then at about 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 or 6 Garda vans arrived out with about 50 guards. They came in and the superintendent met us and told us what was going on, told us what was happening. And about an hour after that, then again, there was up to 150 guards standing around here. Some of them were in riot gear and some of them were plain uniformed.
When you say riot gear, do you mean shields and everything?
No, they didn't have the shields, but they had the overalls and stuff like that. They had their batons and they had their pepper sprays with them.
And what did the local people feel at that? Were they intimidated or were they scared? What was it like?
Well, we were. I mean, we've been a peaceful protest since day one. The minute we came up here, there's never been any trouble up here. And when the guards met us that morning, they all said the same thing as well, that everybody is saying how peaceful we are. And it was fairly frightening to see so many guards around the place.
Given the Garda response to some of the other protests of this nature, like in Coolock and in Newtown and Kennedy, did the people here expect a kind of a heavy-handed response, if that's what it was?
Well, they didn't, to be quite honest with you. I mean, you'll see on the news and things like that, you'll see the rough sides of everything that's happening around the place. Coolock, I believe, I've never been up there, I haven't been near the place or anything like that, but I believe Coolock was peaceful up until when the guards arrived onto it. I mean, we have to live and cooperate with the guards here as well. So it is, I personally myself, I think it's wrong to have so many guards coming down here for something like this.
And now that the plans are going ahead, it seems, what is the local community intending to do? Do you tend to stay on here as you've been?
Well, we will stay on here. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a race thing or anything like that. We don't care who's inside in the hotel or who's not inside in the hotel. What we want is, if there is people staying here, we've no amenities here. We've no guards barracks here. We've no doctor here. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm after being told that the chemist is closing here. So we don't have anything for people here. There isn't even a footpath to go from the hotel into the village. So they're walking on the side of a very dangerous road, as you saw coming in yourselves.
Can you talk about some of the things you've done here as a community to try and stop this IPAS centre from opening up?
Well, we're here over 11 weeks now since Wednesday, and we have looked for FOIs, you could say 11 weeks ago. Those requests have fallen on deaf ears. We wanted to know about fire safety regulations, about contracts to do it here. We have just got absolutely nothing. We've been stonewalled at every, which way we went. So that was, part of our process. We tried to speak with different bodies in relation to this. We have tried to engage with the Department of Integration. Now, there has been, there was a meeting in Tipperary town with councillors, local TDs, and Evelyn from she was the communications area of the Department of Integration. Evelyn promised that Kilmore cottages wouldn't be used, and that is because they were only acquired last year. So there has been no inspections carried out on this. But Tuesday morning, when the new arrivals came, that's where they were brought to, that's where they're being accommodated now. Having spoken to them, they have confirmed that in some of the building they might have no water. In other parts of the building they'll have cold water, no hot running water, that there's spiders everywhere. Like, this building, to our knowledge, has not been inspected, and we can't understand why. And why our FOIs are falling on deaf ears, our requests for them. What are we not supposed to know? Why is this? There seems to be secrecy, so much secrecy from government towards us as, citizens of this country, but also to the IPAS people too. So what's going on? We just want the answers. These are questions that we believe are legitimate questions, and we just believe there should be transparency.
And in terms of the people that have shown up, obviously the people in there at the moment in the IPAS facility they're women and children from various parts of Africa. But I mean, I think that perhaps the community are a bit more apprehensive about the possibility of single males showing up. Like we've seen that happen in a lot of places around the country, which does lead to some public concern. Has the attitude changed now that there's women and children in there, or do you think that that's not going to carry on?
I don't think it's going to carry on. I think it's a decoy. I think, like Rossgrey, bring in the women and children, move them. The women and children were happy where they were. They didn't want to be moved. But I suppose the statistics are showing us that it is predominantly men coming in and children. But, that could be young men between the age of 15 and 18 that are categorised as kids. So they have to go somewhere. And we believe that there's a very, very high possibility that they are going to come here. That the women and children were initially told, they've told us that they were only here for 2 weeks, so they could be gone within the next 2 weeks. There's more bed capacity than 277 beds here, so our fear is that this is going to expand, and we're going to have maybe in 2 months' time 500 people, and maybe reunification, that'll double, triple, quadruple, etc. It's a 220-acre site, so the world's the oyster here for the government.
The current capacity, I understand, is around 500 as things lie.
550, I believe.
And that's without the military tents that they use. That's without the modular homes that they've proposed to build. So you think that this could turn into perhaps a mega asylum centre?
Oh, completely. Like, I suppose strategically, it's a very well located place. Not really for anyone that wants to coming here, because the nearest towns are 12 and 15 kilometres away. So, to actually try to integrate, it's going to be next near impossible. Services are at an all-time low. One GP who's, struggling with the numbers that are there at the moment. Schools that are already full. It's, it's not being looked at, and there's no duty of care or due diligence that I can see towards the people of this area, and also to the people inside in Dundrum House Hotel that are staying. they could see that we're not racist. We just want to all kind of live in some sort of harmony. And unfortunately, the government, say, have just created, an absolute, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is at the moment, but it's abominable, really. And everybody's going to suffer, at every side. And
I understand that your parents were the previous owners of the hotel here. Can you tell us a little bit about it and about Dundrum as a village?
Yeah, well, that's true. They bought it in 1978, the year I was born, and then they opened it up as a hotel in 1981. And it ran as a hotel, and obviously, as you can see from it there, it was added on to the leisure centre, golf course, and etc. So I would have grown up there pretty much. It was a huge part of the community, and I would consider it still to be. It has an amazing 18-hole golf course and leisure centre that people still use. A really big part of the community. I would say that pretty much everyone here would have an emotional connection with Dundrum House itself, either having worked there or their parents worked there or having got married there or parties or whatever it is. Really big connection. It has been a very big part of what is, a small village.
And it's been mentioned in the media repeatedly that it was no longer in use. I think there's an impression has been given that it was somehow lying idle. Is that the case?
Well, look, it's fair to say that the main house of it has not been invested in in the last few years, but it has been running successfully as a golf course, and with golf most of the time you'd have accommodation as well. Now, it was running accommodation there up until the Ukrainian community came in on a short-term contract, and any of the bookings then from golf would have been cancelled to accommodate that. Now, what we were under the impression that that was going to, as I said, be a short-term contract for about 2 years, and then it would reopen and money would be invested in the place, and it would be become a kind of a world-renowned resort, which it is capable of.
So I guess the statutory instrument set out for the Ukrainians is about to end, I think, next year, 2025. Do you feel as though that will end, or do you think it will perhaps drag on? It doesn't look like the war over there is ending anytime soon.
Well, it looks to be that the Ukrainian community are either returning home or integrating into Irish society and making their own way. That's what it appears to us. But now that it is has become an IPAS centre, I suppose that creates a very different picture for us here in Dundrum with Dundrum House. It's a long-term thing,
So the main concern then, would you think, is because you feel like it's not going to end, like you're not going to get it back for the community as you had it previous?
Yeah, that is a real concern for us. Yeah, it is. Because look, I lived in the city for years and I know what it's like to have everything on your doorstep. But here in Dundrum, we're a village. We don't really have much else. This is what we've got. We've got Dundrum House. We've got our golf course, our leisure centre, a place where people can come together and be sociable. And that's really important to our well-being. And there's no two ways about that. Yeah.
So if somebody just arrived in Dundrum, it's been called a town in the media before, but I mean, driving through it, it looks like it's beautiful. But it's basically a road with, a few shops, like a bit of a corner shop, a post office, pub or two, but not much else really. So if this asylum centre does end up catering for up to 500 people, as I believe it's able to cater for 500 as it is, but then potentially even more as the government, goes on and accepts more and more asylum seekers, how do you feel like this town can cope with that potentially?
Oh, listen, there's major concerns there. It's the uncertainty of all of that. I mean, there aren't services there to provide for that number of people to be living in our community. And engagement from the government has been really poor on that. So that does then have a knock-on effect that we're going to have concerns. There are no guards in our village. There is no guarded station. Our last census would have counted about 200, I think, and 21 people in our village. Looking at these huge numbers coming in, like it doesn't add up for us. And I do feel that due to lack of engagement, we've not had an opportunity to really express that concern and be heard. I think that is really the main thing for us. We're not being heard on that. Dundrum is, as you say, you've driven through it. It has its shops, and it is kind of one street pretty much. It's a stunning village. But in terms of services, they're not there for a huge number of people to come in that way,